Hello and welcome back to Eldritch Girl. So I have now reached 20 films and I'm going to do the next 10 films that I've seen. I had a really good run of films actually. I've really enjoyed these. The first film I watched of this next batch of 10, so I guess film 11, was Plenilunio or Full Moon, 1993, directed and written by Ricardo Islas. This is an Uruguayan indie werewolf film, and I gotta say, South America is really doing it for me in this challenge so far. The teens in this film act their hearts out. You can tell people enjoyed making it. You can tell that they really like choreographing it. There's some great fight scenes. They gave it everything, and the werewolf's lines go so hard. There's a line where it's like, so trigger warning for abortion mention. The werewolf says that he fell in love with somebody and she was going to have his child, but he couldn't bear her bringing this monster into the world. So unfortunately, she did not survive the termination. And then he goes, probably because I ate her womb. And I was like, what? Okay. Not expecting that. That was great. I also love that it was edited by the director later on to avoid the werewolf costume ruining the vibes. So I watched the revamped version where he basically put in some like very cheap but kind of, pretty reasonable CGI so that the homemade werewolf costume they had didn't ruin the enjoyment of the film. The premise of the film: bloody crimes shake a little village. A bunch of teenagers discover the cause of these killings is a werewolf that has arrived to stay. Things turn real wild when the werewolf discovers them. I really loved it. That was a highlight for me. I gave that one 4 stars. The next one I watched was an Australian film called The Pack. I gave that one 4 stars as well. That one is The Pack 2015, directed by Nick Robertson and written by Evan Randall Green. This one's really fun. I really enjoyed it. It's about a family and they have a farm out in the middle of the outback somewhere, and it's going to be foreclosed upon. The teenage daughter's delighted. She just wants to get back to the city. But unfortunately, there's a pack of wild dogs on the loose, destroying livestock and also killing people. And soon the house is under siege by this pack of dogs. And I love the fact that they are really fluffy and they're clearly well fed and just very good dogs. And they look like they're having the time of their lives, just bounding on top of people as they fall over. And I gave it an extra star for the dogs because the dogs were phenomenal. But yeah, it genuinely was quite tense though. I was quite tense. I can suspend my disbelief for days. And also I just do get quite anxious when there's you have to get to the truck in a certain amount of time, or you're taking too long. I'm like, oh my God, hurry up. Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. It was just a lot of fun actually. So I gave that 4 stars. Okay, first North American film of the challenge was from the USA. It's Never Let Go, 2024, directed by Alexandre and written by Ryan Graspy and Kevin Laughlin. This one was great. This one has Halle Berry in it. I've wanted to watch it for a while, so I saved it for the challenge. It's really interesting. It's an interesting take on psychological horror and mental illness. It's also mentioned very recently in a talk about Black motherhood in horror, which was hosted on the Romancing the Gothic YouTube channel, and was just a really good talk. So yeah, I found this one really good, really interesting. The kids are definitely little stars in the making. I think they are definitely to watch because I thought they did so well. They basically they have to carry the whole film, and the child actors are honestly superb. So I would recommend this. The premise is, as an evil takes over the world beyond their front doorstep, the only protection for a mother and her twin sons is their house and their family's protective bond. But obviously, it's is that what's going on? Do we know what's going on? What's happening? Really, really interesting stuff. And I gave that one 4 stars. The next one was an absolute classic. Ecologia del Delito, A Bay of Blood is the English title, directed by Mario Bava, 1971. This was written by Filippo Ottoni, Mario Bava, Giuseppe Zacciarello, and Je ne l'uoto. Again, I don't speak Italian. I'm sorry if I ruined those names. This was really fun. I really enjoyed this. This is a mystery. It's a very cool story. I do love a mystery, and I love the whole giallo thing, and I love the proto-slasher thing. I really enjoyed the twist on the country house mystery. I really liked that. I liked the random teens that turned up to get murdered. I loved all the different characters that came into play. It's not really a character-driven one because you don't get to know the characters really well enough for it to be like that, but it is just, it's an interesting set of dynamics. So I would recommend that one, and I do like Mario Bava anyway. The premise is, an elderly heiress is killed by her husband who wants control of her fortunes. What ensues is an all-out murder spree as relatives and friends attempt to reduce the inheritance playing field, complicated by some teenagers who decide to camp out in a dilapidated building on the estate. It's a bad time to be a teenager in the 70s. I really enjoyed it. 4 stars from me. Then I watched another American one. This is US American, so again North American, and another one I've saved for the challenge. It was Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, 2026, directed by the directing duo Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillett. Or possibly Gillett, I'm not sure. I've never heard that. Gillett? Gillett? I don't know. Answers on a postcard. Yeah, so it's written by Guy Busick and R. Christopher Murphy. And I watched this with friends. It was part of a watch party. We had some live, some of us were in the room and some of us were online. That was really, really fun. I think that I increased my enjoyment of it a lot. I really liked the premise of the first one. I really liked the second one. Not much more to say. Samara Weaving is brilliant. I really liked all of the characters. I loved Elijah Wood just doing his little amoral, smug demon lawyer thing. I thought that was very cute. That's very fun. Loved Sarah Michelle Gellar. Very sad that we didn't get a suggested lesbian wedding because that would have been the obvious choice, but sadly not. But they robbed us. So anyway, yes, the premise is, moments after surviving an all-out attack from the Les Dumas family, Grace discovers she's reached the next level of the nightmarish game, and this time with her estranged sister Faith at her side. Grace has one chance to survive, keep her sister alive, and claim the high seat of the council that controls the world. 4 rival families are hunting her for the throne, and whoever wins rules it all. I especially like the Spanish guy in this because I think, so I sat with a friend who speaks Spanish fluently, and they were saying that is basically like authentic Spanish swearing, and it wasn't subtitled in English, so I think it was just like ad-libbed. Oh, that was a treat. That was an extra star. I then watched another North American film. This is from Canada. This is Rituals 1977, directed by Peter Carter. It's also the first film of the challenge where we have a casually queer character. This is a guy who mentions that he has an ex-boyfriend and says that he hasn't really dated since this guy. And then his friends make no big deal out of this at all. Nothing else is mentioned about his sexuality. It's not part of the plot. It's literally just part of the dialogue. And then, shenanigans. So it's a survival horror. It's again one of those proto-slashers, like the early slashers. So you had this one, 1977. You had a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was 74, something like that. And then you had A Bay of Blood, which is the early one. And I feel like I've watched a seminal trio, now. So tick, tick, tick. Yeah, so this one is about 5 doctors go camping in the remote woods of northern Ontario. When their boots are stolen, they begin to suspect they are being stalked. And indeed they are. And it's a bit of a mystery, but don't go in expecting loads of kills and stuff. It's very much a character piece. It's just this whole 99 minutes of people talking. And you get to know these people really well, and then things happen to them, and then they're like, why are we being hunted? What you want to know what the answer is, but you're also just really invested in who these people are. And the writer is Ian Sutherland. And I quite like that script, again, for just the casual queerness. I gave this one 3.5 stars. Then we went back to Italy. I can't stay away this challenge, apparently. La notte dei diavoli, The Night of the Devils, directed by Giorgio Ferroni. And this one was originally written by Alexei Tolstoy, of course, because it's based on his short story, The Family of the Vordelak. The writers of this film are Eduardo Manzonas, Romano Migliorini, and Giambattista Musetto. So this is a kind of Spanish-Italian collaboration, I guess. And they set it, interestingly, in modern day, well, contemporary 1972. So it's contemporary costumes. There's mention of cars. And this guy, Nicola, is out in the rural sticks somewhere. And it's kind of like, he's driving along. He nearly gets into an accident. He meets this weird family. And it's framed as he is a patient at a psychiatric facility. And he's having a flashback of basically how he got there. And then you get his story, and then you flash forward, I guess, back to the contemporary times, like present day for him, and then what happens after that. And it's a very interesting adaptation of Le Vordelak. If you haven't seen the French version of this, which is called La Vordelak, then I recommend you do. They use a puppet for the vampire, which is phenomenal. So you get like weird, freaky puppet sex at one point. Absolutely wild shit. Highly recommend that. You can also watch a really good version of it, which is about 13 minutes long, as part of the Red Iron Road animation series. And I think it's episode 1 of that series. Really recommend that version as well. So this kind of is a good way for me to round off that. So now I've seen 3 adaptations of that short story. I also listened to it and read it multiple times. But yeah, it's just really good. I enjoyed it. It kept me entertained. The English dub, I will say, is atrocious, like really, really bad. And I didn't really realise how bad it was. I thought I was just like mishearing what they were saying. And then I realised, like, no, the lines genuinely do not make sense in English. So I don't know what dub it was that I was listening to, but it was awful because I was reading the French subtitles and I was like, wait a minute, he didn't say that. And then I just went, no, I can't deal with this anymore. So I went back to the original Italian, and then I found English subtitles and sort of watched that instead. And that was much, much better. But the version I had, I couldn't turn the English dub off initially. So I had to fiddle about with it. But yeah, so anyway, I really do not recommend the English dubbing at all. Anyway, it was decent enough. I think I'm kind of bored of the story though, because I don't know, maybe I was just in a mood. I gave that 3 stars. I do think it's a really good film, but it wasn't like a standout film for me this time. My next standout film, still only 4 stars. I haven't found one that's like a 5-star, oh my god, this is amazing yet. This one is called Midnight Inn. Unfortunately, I do not speak Mandarin, so I'm not even going to attempt to say what the original title in Mandarin is, because I can't read the characters. So it's Midnight Inn. It's directed by Chen Jiaolong, 2024, and it's been written by Kui Zhu Zhao. So, again, I'm really sorry if I've pronounced that wrong. So, yeah, this is a really interesting one. It's got some really wild stuff in it. I was not sure what to expect, but it's very much, I would say this is like Chinese Gothic, very much like The Paper Bride that I watched last year. It's got all of those things, like it's got the weird creepy mansion and like which is the Midnight Inn in this case, standing in as the haunted house kind of area. So that is a place that operates around midnight, serves as both a mortuary and a rest stop for travellers. It reopens after 10 years and it draws in some unexpected guests who each claim a strange connection to a corpse that has been at the Midnight Inn for, again, like many years. And then this gives rise to a whole host of interwoven stories that they each tell. So it's almost like an anthology film with that framework. And they each have a different part of the story. And then there's a bit of a twist where somebody goes, actually, you see it from these different people's perspectives, but some of them are lying. So you see what you think the story is, and then it kind of unravels around you, and you see different ways of looking at that same story. really enjoyed that. It was a good piece of storytelling. Yeah, I really liked the concept. I really liked the dovetailing of those unreliable narrators. So yeah, that really did it for me. 4 stars for the Midnight Inn. That was from mainland China, by the way. I watched another Chinese film, The Weird Stories of Baiyun Zhai, also known as The Baiyun Ghost House. So, sorry, this is 2025. It's directed by Li Jiwen. I think it's also written by the director as well, but I couldn't find that information to corroborate it. This is about a coffin shop which was set up in the Baiyun house, which is like a ghost house, and it's rumoured to be cursed and bring misfortune. There are eerie deaths associated with the house. There's a drowned man, a butcher kills his family, and so Master Ma, who is an exorcist, comes to investigate with his apprentice. And it's really cool. I really enjoyed that one. I like the premise. I really enjoyed the creepy paper effigies, I guess. I do enjoy watching like Taoist exorcisms as well, because I don't see that as much. And I'm really kind of oversaturated in US evangelical ideas of Catholicism and what Catholic exorcisms look like, as well as like films from Catholic countries that represent kind of exorcisms and stuff. So I've seen such a lot of those. So this is just really fun to kind of compare cultures and like look at different ways of doing things. Yeah, overall it was a pretty decent film. Enjoyed it. 3.5 stars. And finally, film number 20 was a Filipino film. This is called Nightshift 2020, directed by Yam Laranas. I've seen a Laranas film before. He also wrote it. The one I saw before was Aurora, which is a shipwreck. Really, really moving, kind of meditation on death and grief. This one is also a meditation on grief and death. It's really not about jump scares. It's not about the body horror. There is body horror, but it's more like this is what happens to your body after you die. And it's not realistic in that kind of like gory sense, but it's more like this very sad, very tragic meditation on, just what happens in a mortuary, and sort of the idea of, it's very philosophical, and it's kind of like the idea that everybody's death is like a small apocalypse or a personal apocalypse. I thought that was just a really interesting framing. So the premise is a young woman is stuck in the morgue on her first day working as an assistant to a pathologist when the dead begin to manifest signs of resurrection. And because this one is set in the Philippines, this one is very Roman Catholic background culturally. And so you get a lot of genuine Roman Catholic anxieties. I say genuine because I'm thinking specifically of the Conjuring films, which are not at all actually theologically Catholic. They are a US evangelical cultural background idea of what Catholicism is, and that's not the same thing at all. And so I'm kind of tired of films like that. If I want to see a Roman Catholic exorcism, I want to see it made by Roman Catholics. Do you know what I mean? So this one's really interesting because it's also got those anxieties of bodily resurrection transported into a morgue situation. And then it's also quite psychological. It's also like got a lot of things, a big trigger warning for suicide. And it's just very, I did really like that one. I liked how slow it was. It's definitely gothic, I would say, like in that kind of, if we can expand the term, that term, and not kind of, I don't know, like it felt very gothic to me, very modern gothic, but very like, it's got all those tropes and themes, I think. So yeah, I would give that 4 stars also. Just really enjoyed it. And those are my 20 films, my last 10 of those 20. Yeah, I'm rattling through them. I hope that I've given you some ideas of what to watch. But those would be my highlighted recommendations, and there are quite a few of them from this one. So yeah, just as a quick recap, my 4-star recommendations were Nightshift, Midnight Inn, Ready or Not To, Here I Come, A Bay of Blood, The Pack, Never Let Go, and Full Moon. So a whole range from the 70s to the 90s to the 2020s, and from all around the world. So yeah, happy watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.